All right, let's just jump right into this explainer because we are looking at a massive, and I mean absolutely massive, shift in how Indian middle schoolers learn about society, democracy, and equality. For generations, learning about the government basically just meant memorizing dry facts and these incredibly rigid definitions. But what actually happens when an entire education system looks in the mirror and decides, hey, teaching this idealized version of our country, it just isn't working anymore? Well, today, we're exploring that exact pivot, moving completely away from rote learning straight into the messy, vibrant, actual reality of everyday life.
It's a pretty profound question when you stop to think about it. How exactly do you teach the harsh realities of society to a child without just forcing them to memorize a list of definitions? To really answer that, we've got to look at how an educational framework realized that traditional learning was just broken. They saw students completely disconnected from the material, treating it like it was just another chore to get through for an exam. So they made a really bold move. They decided to scrap the old way and completely redesign their approach from the ground up, all to connect what happens inside the classroom with what's actually happening outside of it.
Section 1. A new educational vision, moving beyond the classroom walls. So this whole vision kicked off with the National Curriculum Framework of 2005, and the authors didn't pull any punches. They explicitly called out the need to ditch what they termed the legacy of bookish learning. Because let's be honest, for way too long, this purely book-based approach created this huge artificial gap between school, home, and the wider community. Their fix? Simply destroy those sharp boundaries between different subjects and link a child's school life directly to the real world they're actually living in. And you can really see that idea in motion here, students actively moving forward, together. It perfectly captures this massive shift toward a genuinely child-centered education system. The core philosophy here is actually super empowering. It's the idea that children should be treated as active participants who generate their own knowledge through their own experiences, not just, empty vessels sitting at a desk waiting to be filled up with a fixed set of facts by an adult. Section 2. Replacing civics with SPL. A necessary death and a new birth. Because of this bold new vision, the traditional subject of civics actually had to be completely discontinued. If you look at the old way, civics basically spent all its time talking about how government institutions should ideally work. It was like a perfect little blueprint, but it almost never acknowledged the real-world flaws. So they replaced it with social and political life, or SPL. And SPL, it plunges students straight into the contemporary, everyday realities of the country's social, political, and economic life. It's a total 180. Just to give you an idea of how practical this actually gets, take a look at the specific themes in the Class 7 curriculum. We're talking about units on equality, health, gender, the real impact of media and advertising, and how markets actually function. I mean, it's practically a real-world survival guide for navigating modern society. Instead of just handing students a dry list of government branches to memorize, this curriculum is tackling the exact forces that shape their daily lives. Section 3. Real life over rote learning. Embracing the messy reality. Now, to really embrace all that messy reality, SBL completely flips the script on how the subject is actually taught. Instead of throwing strict definitions at students to memorize, it relies on concrete, real-life case studies, storyboards, and narratives. And since a single national textbook can't possibly capture every local reality, the creators deliberately mixed rural and urban examples. The whole goal is for the student to grasp the underlying concept through the story, tapping into their own personal, everyday understanding of family and social issues. This is such a striking visual metaphor right from the curriculum itself, and it really anchors the text's core philosophy. Diverse citizens literally holding up the Parliament building. It sends a brilliantly powerful message to the learner. Constitutional values like equality aren't just these abstract ideas handed down from the heavens. No, they are actively realized, built, and maintained through the actual everyday struggles and participation of regular people. And by bringing those real-life struggles right into the classroom, the curriculum embraces this fascinating paradox. The text actually explicitly tells teachers that in these discussions, there's rarely one single correct answer. Now, obviously, they are quick to clarify that there are definitely wrong answers, like your answer still has to show you actually understand the core concept. But this is a massive shift away from that old, didactic, one-size-fits-all teaching style. It actively invites debate and personal perspective. Section 4. The teacher's crucial role, navigating sensitive realities. But here's the catch. Bringing these kinds of open debates into a middle school classroom puts an enormous amount of responsibility on the educator. I mean, the new text literally dares to name specific marginalized communities like Dalit, Muslim, and the poor to discuss actual issues of inequality. And because these classrooms are filled with students from all sorts of diverse sociocultural and economic backgrounds, the teacher becomes this absolutely crucial guide. They have to carefully curate an environment built on deep sensitivity and a total commitment to the dignity of every single student. Plus, they're tasked with adding specific local examples just to make this national text actually resonate locally. That's a huge job.
Section 5. Rethinking Student Evaluation, moving past the prescribed texto.
Naturally, if you're going to completely change how students learn, you absolutely have to change how you test them, right? The framework's authors saw this trap right away. They explicitly warn that treating the textbook as the one and only basis for exams is exactly what causes so much stress and boredom. When you treat a textbook like some sacred, unchangeable document that just has to be memorized, it totally wrecks the whole child-centered philosophy. It just ignores all the other valuable resources and ways of learning that exist in a kid's real life. You can really see the stark contrast between the two evaluation models here. The old way was completely about memorizing fixed concepts and just parroting them back. But the new evaluation? It prioritizes the ability to actually reason. The framework asks teachers to use brand new questions on exams, stuff that's similar to the book but not identical. Students are now expected to articulate their ideas in their own words. The entire focus shifts to building the students' confidence, maybe gently correcting their language here and there, and seeing if they can actually apply these concepts to totally new contexts.
Just take a look at this actual evaluation question straight from the source material. Notice the phrasing, what do you understand, and why do you think it's important? It's literally demanding critical thinking and personal articulation. It's no longer enough to just scribble down a legal definition of equality. The student actually has to prove that they grasp the why and the how of the concept within a working democracy.
Ultimately, this whole philosophical shift in education leaves us with a truly fascinating, provocative question to ponder. Think about it. If an entire generation of students learns to critically analyze the messy, complex realities of equality, rather than just memorizing a dictionary definition, how is that going to change the future of their democracy? When an educational system decides to stop sugarcoating civics and actually starts teaching students how to navigate their society, the impact goes way, way beyond the classroom walls. What do you think that future looks like? Keep that question in mind as you reflect on this explainer today.